Okay, so today we are going to talk about engineering procedure number 3 for the rocket car. The gist of this step is that we are going to draw two axles, just a set of axles, and they have to fall within the constraints that we have here for dimensions. All right, so there are some things that are non-negotiable, like for instance, there has to be two axles and they have to have a diameter of 0.156 inches. That you don't have a choice. You have to have that. As far as the other measurements go, you can see that the distance between the bottom of the car to the center of both of these axles must be greater than or equal to 0.2 and less than or equal to 0.4. So you've got a range there. The distance from the back of the car to the center of this axle must be greater than or equal to an inch, and the distance from here to here must be greater than or equal to 4 inches. All right, so you do have a range here, and you have a range here, and you have a range here. We'll talk about those and some recommendations, although we do give you some wiggle room. We'll talk about what I think you should do in this, especially in the situation that we're in where we're kind of on borrowed time. We don't have a whole lot of extra time, so we want to make efficient use of our time as much as possible. So here we go into the drawing itself. Remote learners, obviously, you're going to have the additional step of going in and logging into launchpad.classlink.com/seals. Of course, going in and opening the remote app server and then linking Google Drive file stream before you open Solidworks. The remote learners definitely have a couple extra button clicks. All right. Once you're all into Solidworks and you have Solidworks open, whether it's in person or whether it's remote, we're going to go to File, we're going to go to Open. I want you to browse out to your Google Drive file stream and My Drive and Google Classroom, and you want to find your class, the Tech Ed class. And I had you guys create a folder called Rocket Car where everything else is. So last time we did procedure number 2, and that's the one that I want you to open because procedure number 2 accounts for the proper weight of your car. Your procedure 2 should do the same as well. So we'll go ahead and open procedure number 2. And it should just take a second here for it to open. Maybe more than a second. And maybe more than 15 seconds. Here we go. All right. So how do we know that this is the good one? Well, because if I double click here, you're going to see the dimensions that I have that are important. You're going to see the dimensions here that I have that are important. And if we go to evaluate and mass properties, you're going to see that this is based upon my block of wood weighing 171 grams. Yours would be whatever yours is. All right. So back to it. We're going to look at this from the side view. It's most important for you guys to look at it from the side view. We're going to go ahead and click Sketch. We're going to choose the shape, which is a circle. The plane that we're going to draw on is this one. And we're literally just going to draw ourselves two axles. You don't have to worry about where they're at. They could be different sizes. They could be different locations. We'll fix all of that. So if you remember from our dimension, actually, it's right here. From this, the axles have to be 0.156 inches in diameter. There we go. So I'm going to go to Smart Dimension. I'm going to go ahead and click on the outside of the axle, and I'm just going to move these dimensions out of here, 0.156 inches. And I forgot to enable the number lock. So there we go, 0.156 inches. There it is. I'll do the same thing with this one, 0.156 inches. All right. Now, the dimension from the center of these axles to the bottom of the car right here has to be somewhere between 0.2 and 0.4 inches. If I go back to SolidWorks and I click from here to here, let me show you the difference here. At 0.4 inches, you'll see where that locates the axle. If I come in and double click 0.4 and I make it 0.2, you'll see that it moves the axle down. So we can have it anywhere between those two numbers. So there's nothing stopping you from having 0.3. You can do 0.4. You could really do whatever you want. There's a benefit and a positive and a negative to both of these. This is essentially setting the ride height of your car. So at 0.2 inches, you're going to have the highest ride height, which is going to give you a little bit more clearance below the car. There are going to be two eyelet screws that are going to be below the car that we run a piece of fishing line through so that the car doesn't careen off of the track. So we're essentially playing with ride height right here. If you make it 0.4, you'll make your ride height the lowest. Has a benefit and it has a negative to it. For me, I always make both axles 0.2. All right, that's just in your best interest and in my best interest for the challenge we're doing right now to make them at 0.2. All right, let's go back and look at these again. So the distance from here to here must be greater than or equal to 1 inch. And the distance from here to here must be greater than or equal to 4 inches. So let's go back to here and let's dimension that. So from here to here, let's make it the minimum, 1 inch. And then from the center of this axle to the center of this axle, let's also make it the minimum of 4 inches. So if you go with those dimensions, which are minimal, you can essentially create a car. When we get to our procedure number 4 step, you got to stay away from the chamber here, but you can essentially create a car that stays away from this chamber and it comes out and it ends in roughly in here somewhere, right? So you can cut all of this off of the front of your car. There's nothing that says you can't make this rear dimension 2 inches. It's completely legal. But if you did that, now you just extended the length of your car. There's nothing that says we can't make this 5 inches. You can totally do that. But if you do that, you just extended the length of your car. And what you're going to find out is that the most important thing when you're designing a rocket car is that you want to get it as light as you possibly can. The lighter you make it, the faster it's going to be. Therefore, the shorter you make these dimensions, which will make them at the minimum, the shorter you make these dimensions, the lighter your car is ultimately going to be, the faster it's going to be. All right, so there's my dimensions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them that are important. The only other step left for procedure number 3 is to go to features, extruded cut, and we'll change blind to through all. And when we make this thing like that, we have 2 axles that are located for our car. Final kind of housekeeping things to do here. File, save as. You are going to save this as your first name, your last name, procedure number 3. You're going to go back to Google Classroom and you are going to turn this in as procedure number 3. And that should be it. So when we come back next time, we will look into procedure number 4, which is going to be showing you how to do the side sketch right here. So you guys have a good day.